Welcome to the deep dive. Ever wondered about some of the more unusual remedies from the history books?
Oh, definitely. There's some fascinating ones.
Well, today we're plunging into William Boericke's homeopathic materia medica. We're going to explore a really interesting preparation called Aethiops Mineralis.
Exactly. Think of it as, a historical snapshot.
Right.
Our mission, really, is to understand its place, its purpose within homeopathic practice, as Boericke described it back then.
Okay, Aethiops Mineralis. It sounds quite, well, almost alchemical, doesn't it?
It does have that ring to it.
So what's the story? What exactly is it?
Well, it also goes by black sulfide mercury
Ah,
or even Aethiops Mercurialis Mineralis. That kind of gives you a clue.
mercury. Okay.
Essentially, it's a compound made from sulfur and quicksilver. It's
Yeah.
just an older term for mercury, of course.
Right, quicksilver. I've heard that.
So, yeah, you're looking at a mix of those two elements. What's really interesting, I think, is the thinking behind combining them back then. Boericke's text probably suggests it was based on the effects they saw from sulfur and mercury individually, leading them to try this combo for specific problems.
Sulfur and mercury. Wow, yeah, potent duo. Okay, so Boericke lists some specific conditions it was used for. What were the main ones?
He mentions squamous affections quite a bit.
Squamous affections. What does that mean exactly?
Historically, that term referred to glandular swellings, often in the neck area.
Okay.
And while we wouldn't automatically say tuberculosis now, that was a common association people made back then, even without a definite diagnosis.
Interesting. So glandular issues. What else?
He also lists ophthalmia, that's inflammation of the eye,
Okay.
and otorrhea, which is discharge from the ear.
Discharge from the ear. Right.
So it paints this picture of a remedy aimed at, visible, often chronic, inflammatory type issues.
Inflammatory issues, especially those swellings. Got it.
Yeah.
And didn't he also mention skin problems? Something about eruptions?
Yes, absolutely. Painful, irritating, scabby eruptions is how he puts it.
Okay, that sounds pretty broad. Did he get more specific?
He did, yeah. If you look under the skin section in the Materia Medica, Boericke specifies favus-like, scrofulous, herpetic, and eczematous eruptions.
Whoa, okay. Let's break that down. Favus-like.
Yeah, think maybe like crusty, sort of honeycomb patterned lesions.
Right, and herpetic, like blisters.
Exactly, blistery outbreaks. And then eczematous, itchy, inflamed skin. These descriptions, even though they're historical terms, they would have helped doctors back then figure out when Aethiops mineralis might be the right call. Oh, and he mentions hereditary syphilis too.
Hereditary syphilis. Wow. Okay. So a remedy focused on both internal glandular stuff and these external skin things.
That seems to be the main picture, yeah.
Now, you mentioned earlier there was a related substance, Aethiops antiminalis.
That's right, Aethiops antiminalis. Its other name is Hydrogerum stibiatosulfuratum.
Okay. How does that fit in?
Well, Boericke suggests it was often thought to be more effective for some of the same issues.
Oh, really?
Yeah, specifically those scrofulous eruptions we talked about, the glandular swellings, otorrhea.
The ear discharge.
Right. And also scrofulous eye problems, even things like corneal ulcers.
So potentially a stronger or maybe just a more targeted version?
Seems like it was considered that way. He even points to a specific dosage for it, the third trituration,
The third trituration. Okay.
which suggests, there was a perceived optimal strength for that particular preparation compared to the mineralis.
Right. That makes sense. And then Boericke also compares Aethiops mineralis to other remedies. I think Calcarea carbonica, Silicia, and Sorinum.
Exactly. Calc, sil, and soranum.
Why bring those into the comparison?
Well, those are all major homeopathic remedies, and they can sometimes present with symptom patterns that might look similar on the surface.
Ah, okay. So it's about telling them apart.
Precisely. By comparing Aethiops mineralis to these well-known remedies, Boericke is essentially helping practitioners differentiate. To find the subtle distinctions in the patient's specific symptoms to choose the most suitable remedy.
Finding the best match.
Finding the best match within the whole homeopathic toolkit. Yeah, it's all about individualization.
That makes perfect sense, understanding the nuances. So how was Aethiops mineralis itself actually given the dosage?
Boericke recommends the lower triturations.
Other ones, okay.
He specifically mentions the second decimal. Trituration, just as a reminder, is that homeopathic process of diluting and grinding.
Right, the preparation method.
So the second decimal potency, or 2x, represents a particular level of dilution achieved through that process.
Got it. And just to be perfectly clear on the source, again, all this comes from William Boericke's Homeopathic Materia Medica.
That's the one. The edition we often refer to has a copyright by MeDT from 1999, but of course it's compiling much older knowledge.
Right. Good to ground it.
So yeah, to kind of wrap up the picture of Aethiops Mineralis, it was this historical homeopathic mix of sulfur and mercury, primarily used for conditions understood at the time as scrofulous those glandular issues, and a range of skin eruptions.
And some eye and ear things too.
And some eye and ear things, exactly. It had that relative, Aethiops antimalis, maybe seen as stronger for certain cases.
And you'd compare it against calcil serenum.
Right, to ensure it was the best fit. And typically given in those lower triturations, like the second decimal.
It really is a fascinating glimpse into historical practice, isn't it?
It absolutely is.
It makes you think how much our understanding of health of disease has just completely transformed since then.
Massively.
So here's something for you listening to maybe mull over. Think about that historical context. Remedies like Aethiops mineralis. How have our approaches to illness, to well-being evolved since this was part of the medical landscape? And maybe what does that evolution tell us about our own ongoing search for health today?
Yeah, that's a great thought. A lot to consider there.
Definitely. Well, until our next deep dive.